The following program is presented by the HTM Podcast Network.
Hey, this is Josh Woods.
This is the pretty badass Kelly Klein.
This is the Messiah of Pain, Punishment Martinez.
This is the T-smashing, jaw-cracking kid from the east side of Cleveland, Ohio, Shane Taylor.
This is the voice of Ring of Honor, Bobby Cruz, and you are listening to The Locker Room.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
StevieRichardsFitness.com. Join the SRF resistance today. RussoBrand.com. Get the real shoot from the most controversial personality in wrestling, Vince Russo. The Voices of Misery podcast. Support independent media and subscribe at voicesofmisery.podbean.com and follow them on Twitter at Voices of Misery.
This is your United States of America. Speak your mind. Cross the line now, say the truth. Why don't you take it back?
It is Monday, August 19th, 2019, and you are tuned into the Hitting the Marks Pro Wrestling Podcast, powered by the Roar Network at thegorillaposition.com. Presented and simulcast as your Monday Locker Room on Hameen Media. And in association with Last Word on ProWrestling.com. On this week's show, we're talking NXT to USA, AEW selling out, King of the Ring, and a whole lot more. But before we dive in, it's my obligation to remind you this is a podcast by the fans for the fans, bringing you all the news that is news from across the professional wrestling world. Find the entire HTM Podcast Network online by searching Hitting the Marks or visit hittingthemarks.com. My name is Jargo. I'll be your host for the day. That's my tag team partner. He's the man, the myth, the legend, the real RBV. Rick, welcome back inside the locker room.
It's me. It's that honor, the beat of the V. Ric Vickrey, back again inside. You know, this is the locker room. I think this is what Strangler Steve does. It's the locker room that happens to air on a Monday.
Yeah, I believe that's the case, yes.
Because, you know, really we should be defined as the global locker room because we're the only ones that bring you the news from every corner, from every area of the world of professional wrestling, and that holds very true today with an incredible run you put together, Jargo.
And I also have this new thing where I'm trying to incorporate at least a little bit of something from some independent promotion that maybe you haven't heard of. So we've got that coming up on the show today as well. Rick, of course, we have been incredibly busy this week. You had a show on Saturday night. I was in a wedding on Saturday morning / afternoon, and the picture session that never seemed like it would end. Congratulations to Luke and Heather. I hope that you're enjoying the Bahamas, and I hate you because the weather in Iowa absolutely sucks right now, but it looks like things are beautiful out there in YANO.
Right now, the sun is shining. It's a beautiful Monday morning. Last night, not the case, and I think we're expecting to get a little bit of what you're up to right now. So storms are heading.
Yeah, we've got more coming in on Tuesday. Weather is absolutely crazy. Rick, speaking of absolutely crazy, there is a series of people that I wanted to talk about as our lead topic here today. And the topic is wrestling with wrestling again. And these are people that have retired from professional wrestling, and they have retired from professional wrestling for a reason. And lately we have seen this huge influx of people coming out of retirement, and it's really starting to bother me a little bit, some of these matches that people are talking about. And I'm seeing Shibata thrown out there against Kenta. Evidently, Edge seems to think that he's got one more match in him. Paige just went and had another neck surgery, and she seems to think that maybe she can return to the ring at some point. We keep hearing all these rumors of Sting versus Undertaker, which you can bet your ass would happen in Saudi Arabia. That's not happening here in the United States. Rick, is this just a matter of financials, or like, I don't want to see any of these people wrestle again. Like, for their own good, I personally don't want to watch any of these matches.
Well, I think, in many of these cases, as I always say here, when people just because you're being a stingy fan, you want to remember them the way they are. I mean, it's none of your business to tell individuals how they can make a living if they can go get a payday like that. But as we're looking at, the list that you've run off here, the serious question is, it comes down to, their well-being, their health. And there has to be a concern if there's somebody that, brought you years of entertainment you were a fan of, even if you weren't, you understand the business that they're in, how dangerous this could be. So that, obviously there has to be concern and question regarding their health. But if they're going to get physically cleared, if they're okay for these one-offs, then why not come back? Because, this is like a drug. This is in you. It's always going to be there. You want that thrill of the audience. You want to shine in front of a stage. And there's nothing like going out there for professional wrestling. And you look at, just for these individuals, they're at the very top of their game. They're working for the biggest promotions in the world. You look at the Weekend Warriors. They're going out there and doing it just for the pure passion. And sometimes you question even that. But it's there because they love it. It's a drug. It's highly addictive. But again, what really jumps out to me, you talk about financials. When we're looking at someone like Edge and Sting, they want that Saudi money. They're seeing what these individuals are getting there, going over there, working one show, multi-million-dollar contract for a one-off match over there. No matter where you're sitting in life financially and all that, if you can feed that desire to go out there one more time and set yourself to a better level personally and financially, I see no problem with it.
Well, all of these situations are a little bit different. Obviously, Page is kind of where Edge was when he was forced to retire. And there has never been any talk of Edge coming back until all of a sudden the Saudi money started rolling in. In fact, Edge was on a no contact list. And that's why we were so surprised to see him spear Elias at SummerSlam. But people are talking now, who do you want to see the Edge match against? Do you want to see like Edge versus Seth Rollins, or do you want to see Edge versus AJ Styles? And it's like, number one, I don't want to see Edge wrestle. And if Edge does wrestle, I want it to be somebody like Elias, where this is not going to be a strenuous match in any way, shape, or form. This is going to be 1, 2, 3, thank you, I'm done.
Well, I think that's what you need here. Either someone that's going to work with a character like Elias, bring you out there and get your character work in, get the big pops, hit the the exchange on the mics, which those two could be brilliant with in a build. Go out there, hit a quick move, match is over within moments. You don't necessarily want to see him in there with someone like Rollins or AJ Styles, where those expectations are going to be set so high that he's going to have to go out there and and put himself in danger to perform at those expectations.
This is old and basically don't touch me Edge. This is not 2003. I'm getting ready to set the world on fire. Rated R superstar.
Yeah, you look at when Shawn Michaels had to go out there and carry that match because of the injury to Triple H, and they're taking on the Brothers of Destruction. That's a fluke in there. Triple H could have carried that match for everyone. You get that injury, then it falls on Shawn. Now we remember that. If it could have just been in that match, Triple H doing the brunt of the work, and then the showstopper coming in, hitting the sweet chin music, getting the big pin, it would have been a great moment there. I would like to see Edge, if in some way we can get him involved in some sort of tag 6-man, where you're going to have some spots that they're going to be remembered for, but then you get the big spear and Edge with the pin, and that's the feel good moment.
Well, and I'm not even sure I want the spear, because the problem is his neck. And the way that he hurt his neck was that stupid TLC match where he speared Jeff Hardy off of the freaking ladder. Everybody remembers that spot. And if you look at Edge, the second he hits the ground, he is out, because he came down on his head, because that's just how a spear freaking works. If he comes down on his head once and he's done.
You have to have him in there with someone that is very trusted, is going to protect him, and it's not going to be high risk. That's what you're going to have to position this thing as, and you got to believe that spot there with Elias was the ultimate test for him. See if he can go out there and run this thing. He can do it all he wants at the Performance Center or in any kind of training ring. It's different than the adrenaline running when you're in front of that audience, and that's what the test run was with Elias.
The second that music hits and you walk out on that stage, it's 100% pure adrenaline, and I'm pretty sure you don't feel anything.
And that's why we got what we did.
And that's the same issue with Kazutori Shibata. If you put Kazutori Shibata in a ring with Kenta, people are going to expect a 5-star classic. This is not going to be a 1.5-minute Goldberg match or a 1.5-minute Edge versus Elias match. They're going to expect these two guys to go out there and kill each other for 25 minutes. And oh yeah, you can't fix a brain bleed.
Well, and you see, when we were talking about the difference in situation, you talk about the New Japan style. In any circumstance, it's completely different than the sports entertainment that we get from WWE. The Shibata, it's going to be a much greater risk for him to step out there, because even the low expectation is going to be very dangerous.
And I think that the risk is so much higher just because of the injury as well. Like, yeah, Edge has, some screws in his neck. That really sucks. Shibata's injury is his brain is bleeding. He has a subdermal hematoma. Like, the most basic drop on his head could kill him.
Yeah, I mean, which is so different. And then when we look at, you talk about the differences in these situations, with Edge and Sting within WWE, of course, they're financially set. They have actually ventured outside of professional wrestling and found some success, especially Edge recently in acting. Sting's done so much work through his religious beliefs and even gotten into acting himself. In the case of Paige, I wonder if it's more of a concern over her value. What is her worth? I mean, all she's ever known is professional wrestling.
Yeah, like literally since she was an early teenager, this is all she has known.
I mean, she had a movie, based on her life that was, about coming up in professional wrestling. That was all her family knew. That's all she's done. She's been with WWE since breaking into it. Well, I mean, since teens that she's been, in that system. She's still very young. She's away from WWE. Everything has been essentially a train wreck. I mean, it's a TMZ episode. Is she just questioning her value, her worth? I mean, if she loses this again, what is there for Paige?
Yeah, then what? And then there's Sting and The Undertaker. And I think anybody who's listened to us for any amount of time knows that I have absolutely no desire to see The Undertaker wrestle again. And I love Sting. I absolutely love Sting. I was a little Stinger. I grew up on WCW and the NWA. I don't want to see Sting wrestle again. Sting has spinal stenosis. Sting went basically limp in a match with Seth Rollins after a buckle bomb. So let's put him in there with The Undertaker to get tombstoned, because what could possibly go wrong in, the 110-degree heat in Saudi Arabia?
Well, I wish that, and maybe you could go back to this and maybe play in a little bit of, because you've got things coming up here. We're going to talk about AEW versus NXT, WWE. Maybe you could go back to where Sting is leading a WCW team against Undertaker with a WWE team. Because there's still enough from WCW. You could find individuals to come work, get a big payday, come work a show there for them against some of, the older WWE guys, where not everyone has to go in there and push themselves completely to their limits.
Yeah, I mean, all of this just seems like it ends badly to me, and I can't help but blame Daniel Bryan. Ever since Daniel Bryan came back from his quote-unquote retirement, he's kind of opened up this whole new path into the world of professional wrestling and dealing with injuries and coming out of retirement because of them. And I guess my question to you is, can you enjoy a Daniel Bryan match at this point? Because I still can't. Every time he does that stupid diving headbutt, it bugs me. Every time he's selling that he's got a concussion, it bugs me. I don't want to see Daniel Bryan get injured again.
I don't want to see him get injured either, but not to the extent that you are. If he's been cleared, this is Daniel Bryan's doing. How long did WWE say, dude, we just don't feel comfortable. We don't want to go this route, but he continued to buck. He continued to fight them at every corner, every turn, until he got what he wanted, to return to this ring. Again, that could have been driven for multiple reasons, but at its very bottom line, it's just that crazy passion, that addiction for the business.
Head injuries bother me. I blame Chris Benoit for that. Can you enjoy going back on the network and watching a Chris Benoit match? I tried last night and I can't do it.
I don't watch them, and it's not because of the injury. I mean, that is a horrific thing, but I'm not. And I know this is a topic of great debate, but I am on the side that I will not praise, I will not watch, I will not do anything supporting what he did. And I don't care what the situation was around it. If there was, mental breakdowns, whatever, there are still individuals that are deceased because of it.
And now we just learned that over the course of the weekend, Dr. Britt Baker has been cleared to return to action for AEW. Rick, this really alarmed me because one of two things is going on here. Either they're taking their protocol for concussion testing way more seriously than the WWE seems to, or there was something really, really wrong with Dr. Britt Baker here, which, going back to that match, makes you view it in a completely different context. We said at the time that match should have been shut down, and they just let it go on. Good God, that's what, 2 months to get cleared from a concussion? Doesn't that seem like a long time to you?
Yeah, but it was a very serious issue. You could tell right away there was something wrong there, and obviously it was even further along than we believed at the time. So yeah, and we go back to talking about when Cody and the Bucks had talked about changing philosophies within the business. You got to believe that meant medically as well, to take care of individuals. Look at Cody. And maybe not so much when Cody was coming up, but I'm sure he saw some of it. It was work through injury, work through pain. But to see everything that his brother and his dad had to go through to make sure you could keep their spot, keep going on. And there was probably times that, as the booker, his dad had to, force that hand on certain talents. And they don't want to go that route. This is a company, owned by wrestlers. So it's going to be for wrestlers. They're going to be very protective of their talents.
It's going to be an interesting story to watch kind of going forward, how injuries are dealt with inside of AEW, and especially head injuries like this. If Tony Khan is used to NFL concussion protocol, you could be looking at a very different system than what the WWE is going through.
Well, that's a great point, Jargo. We got to realize, WWE has always been about wrestling and sports entertainment. Now, they're gone out and they've studied and they've worked with different groups outside of it to bring them in to really enhance, their care. But it's still at its very base, it was around those old school, professional wrestling philosophies. When we get to AEW, they're bringing in individuals who have been working with the NFL, a league, and with soccer as well. 2 leagues that take head injuries very, very seriously.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting kind of sub-story to watch going forward into the fall, because injuries happen, of course, but it'll be interesting to see how they deal with it as a company versus how WWE does. And speaking of WWE versus AEW, Rick, it seems like this is going to happen. NXT to the USA Network. This is expected to be announced basically at any time, although my Stooge report says that this is going down on Monday Night Raw. Do you remember when Finn Balor got called up to the main roster and they had, it was like the draft night and they had the entire NXT crew all gathered there watching Raw together? That's going down tonight too.
Yeah, you talk about a bombshell. I mean, this thing coming completely out of nowhere when this rumor, this news was breaking. Everyone's just so sure that Fox had made a play for NXT to go to FS1. It seems now that we're talking about it and people are buzzing about it. It was so obvious. How did we potentially miss this thing? As USA is not just going to let one of their prime pieces of real estate. Even we bust on the ratings each and every week, how they are in the dump. It still remains a very, very high and watched show for the USA Network. And I know there's a little bit TV-wise that you want to get into, explain these tiers about how these networks rank and how you need to maintain your certain audiences. Now that we're sitting here and this thing's about to, to actually drop, it's like, why didn't we see this coming?
Well, in a way, I kind of did. And we talked about it at the time because they tested this back in December. If you remember, there was that one episode of NXT during WWE week that they ran on Wednesday night, December 13th, and they pulled 841,000 viewers, which is well below SmackDown, and it's very, very well below Monday Night Raw. But we kind of talked about it then at the time that this could be testing to see if they wanted to move NXT to the USA Network. And we talked then that it was a terrible idea. And I still stand by that viewpoint. NXT that night was number 22 on the list of the top 50 shows that night. The Librarians on TNT, just for comparison, was number 10. I've never watched The Librarians. I've never even seen a commercial for The Librarians. I have no idea what that television show is about.
I'll give you one guess.
Librarians?
Bingo!
But it was number 10. NXT was number 22. Now, a lot of those were like news shows, and there was NBA playoffs and all kinds of stuff going on at the time. But still, number 22. It wasn't necessarily something to write home about. Now they're talking about going 2 hours live Wednesday nights head-to-head with AEW. What this is going to do, though, is more importantly for the USA Network, SmackDown is their number 2 show right behind Monday Night Raw when you look at their viewership over the course of the week. When you are in that top tier of the cable ratings, you can charge more for advertising. And I have wondered forever where they were going to make up that viewership. We know that there is a deal with the NHL and NBC Universal in place. We've seen some of the NHL games end up on USA, but that's still not going to cover what they're going to lose weekly, 52 weeks a year from SmackDown to keep them in that upper tier, that tier 1. When you go to Dish Network and boom, USA Network is there. You don't have to pay more to get it. The same thing with DirecTV, your local cable company. They're in that first tier. Everybody has USA Network. Losing SmackDown very conceivably could have dropped them out of that first tier.
Well, and also, you're just looking at from the network standpoint, yeah, you want to maintain that first tier just overall, but your WWE, you got a dog in that fight as well. You cannot have your, up to this point, flagship show, Raw, go to where now you have lost a good portion of just your general audience because now it's in a premium package where USA is included.
Yeah, and we saw Impact go through this when they left Spike TV, and it's been a downhill spiral ever since then.
And that's what they have tried to they've been in business with USA since the 80s. And it could have been, in those meetings, okay, we're leaving, we're going to take part of this product, we're going to go to Fox, we're going to try to hit the open network here. And that made a lot of sense for WWE because now you've created a competition inside the marketplace for your programming instead of just relying on one platform to carry everything for you. When we see this in the bidding wars for, the major sports, and I'm not saying that they're going to be able to achieve the success and the financial volume of like the NFL, but now because the NFL is spread across multiple networks and it is such a hot ticket, you have everybody overbidding for certain things. And that's what we see, this number that we see with Fox, with WWE, it just blows you away what they paid here. But now that's going to it really drives the entire value of the entire industry up, just outside of WWE. Anyone else that's going to be going out there, it sets a new standard, a new bar. But in the negotiations with USA, you had to believe, okay, we know we're taking this away from you. We're going to fill in the gap. We're going to fill the void with a little bit cheaper programming for you, but it's still going to keep you in that level, that viewership level. How about we bring NXT on?
You know what? When we should have saw this, what we should have saw coming.
Oh, you didn't know?
Was when Road Dogg went to NXT. That's when we should have not saw something coming because we all heard that he was being reassigned and then we heard that he was going to NXT. That was very much the beginning of this because Road Dogg's been on headset. I've commented on the show a couple of times about how the NXT product just something feels different. It's Road Dogg on headset. That's what's going on. And they're going to, because Road Dogg's the only one that knows this system. He was on SmackDown forever, helping guide that show. Now the question is going to be what's going to happen to NXT in moving to the USA Network, because I'm expecting a very different product now.
Yeah, again, this goes back to, now this isn't Triple H's baby. This isn't what we've come to love from NXT. This isn't just something that's a highlight on the network. This is big time for them now, which means there's going to be people, brass in the company, mainly Vince McMahon, that's going to have more of an eye on this product. You're going to have network executives from USA that have always expected this sports entertainment presentation, over the very foundation where we had more of a traditional pro wrestling that was catering towards that smarkier audience with inside the WWE universe. That could all be out the window. As we were talking about, the last takeover, a lot of my notes that I was asking you about is, man, it felt a lot more sports entertainment to me.
I think one of the thing that's really going to be interesting to watch is how this is going to work live. There's so much of NXT that is done in post-production, whether that be voiceovers, whether it be the promo packages, the way they construct the sets, the outs, like they've got video packages edited. Like, remember the Aleister Black, who attacked Aleister Black, and they had it from all kinds of different camera angles outside of Full Sail. That was very, very well produced to look gritty. They're not going to be able to pull that stuff off live unless you're working on it weeks and weeks and weeks ahead, which has just not been the WWE way for what seems like a very long time at this point.
Well, when you talk about that production value, now what they can do, they got something in the can. They've got a month or so to edit that. Now you're going to be looking at a couple days to get something ready to plug in for a live audience and have that feed just sitting there. But you're right. I mean, from what we've learned from WWE, they're not really big on the pre-tapes. They try to pull those things live. And a lot of times, again, when you give the wrestler, I mean, it could have taken 10 takes to get that perfect and then get the editing. Now you're only going to have a couple, and you're expecting wrestlers to become actors.
Or like the Adam Cole vignettes when he's standing back there by the scaffolding and his music is playing underneath of him. Like, that's all done in post.
Question for you, Jargo. Have you heard any of the rumblings here? Will NXT still be available on the network? You regularly say that, a network like USA, everyone talks about DVR. They don't give a crap about DVR. They care about real-time viewership because of advertising. Could you see NXT maybe staying on the network, but, airing delayed like they do with Hulu or...
I think it'll be like it is with Raw and SmackDown right now. What is it, a 3-week delay?
It is on there? Okay.
Well, I mean for Raw and SmackDown, because you can go back and watch Raw and SmackDown on the network, but it's 3 weeks behind? Isn't that it?
I've never paid attention to that option on the network, so I didn't know where that layover would be and if they could negotiate a special agreement for NXT to have it air, maybe Friday, so that you could still catch it. I know on Hulu it's a next day or a 2-day that you can catch the episodes, and they're shortened versions though. That you're missing a lot of the filler and the fluff. My bigger question I'm getting towards here, all right, we're going to get the major announcement. You're saying tonight on Raw, when do we get a follow-up announcement that's going to reassure subscribers that the network has value and worth right now? I'm seeing so many fans out there saying, I only subscribe because of NXT.
Yep.
Or that's a large portion. It gives them something weekly instead of one event a month. How bad is this going to hit the actual network?
Well, and there's two problems here, because not only is there that, there's also that new network update that went out that everybody is complaining about. We all had issues with it with SummerSlam during stupid buffering that we've never had problems with before. I saw those comments absolutely everywhere. And they put that update in there to lead to the tiered system. That's what that update is there for. The tiered system is already in place. It's a matter of when are they going to unlock it on the website. So now, as we're getting ready to introduce this new higher price tiering system, we're going to take away the most popular thing on the network. Like, what the hell kind of stupid-ass business model is this?
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you about, because I just don't see, obviously now the top tier is going to include the monthly pay-per-view or, the marquee events for the red and the blue.
I think they need to make that the cheapest tier and make you have to pay for all this other shit that people want to watch. But at that cheapest tier at $9.99, you better give people the pay-per-views, or I think people are just going to cancel left and right because there's no reason to keep it. We'll just pirate the stream.
I got you. Yeah, go in opposite direction here. you're gonna be able to squeeze more juice out of the individuals that want that old content. Because now the main reason everyone's coming is for that $9.99. That be your base right there. That gets you started. I'm wondering what and how many they can sell at those higher prices to, because the reason I stepped away from it is that it seemed that they weren't updating or uploading as much old content, especially from the promotion. All these promotions they went and owned, that I absolutely loved watching as a kid. I can only go back and watch so much Attitude Era.
And that's going to be the other tier, because now with NXT moving, there is no more developmental. Developmental is gone and out the window. Developmental now becomes Evolve, Progress, ICW, all these companies that they have been signing these deals with over the course of the last however many years.
And I don't think those move enough units. I mean, you go back to the last takeover when we're giving our celebrity shots. I mean, granted, it's maybe a small sampling. They show the Evolved champion, Austin Theory, and it's like crickets.
Nobody knew who Austin Theory was.
And at this point, they've almost, a lot of fans have forgotten about NXT UK. Are those going to be enough of a hook to keep people at those higher tiers to stay, highly invested and highly interested in the network?
We'll talk a little bit more about NXT UK when we talk about New Japan, because New Japan has pissed me off. First, we got to talk about SmackDown. And more specifically, the SmackDown debut on Fox. Rick, they are going to do a 20th anniversary show of SmackDown for their debut episode on Fox. They're advertising Kurt Angle, Lita, Booker T, Mick Foley, Hulk Hogan, Trish, Goldberg, Jerry the King Lawler, Mark Henry, Ric Flair, Sting. They've already announced Samoa Joe versus Roman Reigns, Randy Orton, Daniel Bryan, and Eric Rowan versus The New Day. That's already been announced for the show. This is a terrible, terrible idea. Doing an anniversary show for your debut episode on Fox. You're going to spike a rating, and week 2, it's going to go in the toilet.
This is like the NFL kicking off their season, or, the NFL signing on with a brand new network. Everything's exciting. Everything's hot. We're going to bring out, I don't know. Let's just see, like the Cardinals versus the Giants to start this thing, or the Rams versus the Giants, 2 big markets. But, oh, yeah, we're going to have Peyton Manning quarterback one team and Brett Favre quarterback the other, because we don't have the faith in our current crop and our product and our creative that you're going to want to tune in to watch this bullshit.
This just seems like a terrible idea. We saw a Raw reunion. Did they not learn anything? They spike a rating, and then they have their quarterly conference call, and then the next week the rating goes right back to where it was. In fact, they lost another 75,000 people.
And I think it's a matter of overkill right now. This is entirely too much. When you bring in this many talent, this many former talents, everything gets very confused. You're not accomplishing anything. You're not establishing what this show is about, and you're going to turn people off to it by week 2, as you said. You look at the drop off. I could understand 1 or 2 big names. I mean, I'd be doing everything I possibly could to get The Rock to come in and give me 2 minutes. This is The Rock's show. Have him come in and open it. People will tune into it. Have The Rock come out, cut an opening promo, put over this new roster, put over the athleticism. This isn't The Rock's WWE. You're going to see absolute athletes doing incredible feats. You're going to want to tune in each and every week, because that's the direction this company's going in. I'm more storyline and character driven, but they're not there right now. They don't want these people to shine like that, but they sure as hell can go out there and wow you with some of these feats and maneuvers that they put on.
What do you think of them advertising Samoa Joe versus Roman Reigns this far out? I mean, I know card subject to change, but this is the debut on Fox. Like, if you're going to advertise it, you better deliver.
Absolutely. I'm expecting, but I think you need to put some more stakes on this thing. I mean, is this going to grab a new audience?
Well, I wonder, is this like forecasting that Samoa Joe is behind this entire trying to murder Roman Reigns thing? Like, did they just spoil this like they did Undisputed Era winning the tag team championships? I couldn't believe that they stooged that off on their own freaking Twitter.
Again, I could think this could be more of, this is a great rivalry. Hopefully, people are they're hoping people recognize Roman Reigns. He does have a tremendous look there. In this transition, if you can start promoting Joe as just this ruthless, once he gets in there in the ring. But if people are tuning in to see what's going on and Joe's playing a confusing character, is that going to transition? I don't think this far out you should have been advertising any actual matches.
Oh, I completely agree with that. I am looking forward to the draft to see exactly what happens with all of these rosters as we get ready for 7 hours of WWE TV a week. That just sounds like a nightmare. As much as I love NXT, that just sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, and again, the nice thing with NXT was with the network, it was something not that you were looking forward to watching, not that you weren't, but with the option of the network, you could take a break from the other stuff and catch it later. That's why I enjoyed binge watching it, because there's so much going on. By the time I get through the red and the blue, it's so taxing. I'm just done with anything under the WWE call letter.
Yeah, it's sad but true. So let's talk about the competition. Yeah, AEW. Rick, they did it again, and then they did it again. They sell out both Philly and Boston, and it looks like both of these shows sold out in about an hour. They're going to announce shows 4 and 5 today, noon Eastern Standard Time, probably about the same time this show is hitting your ear holes. What are the chances that if you download this show on Tuesday morning, well, I guess they're just announcing, but it's like they're just moving tickets like it's no big deal. WWE can't give tickets away fast enough, but AEW is just selling out left and right. This is awesome.
The machine keeps rolling on, and it does speak to that they've had a great strategy in how they've rolled this thing out here. I think it speaks more that there is a need for professional wrestling. Granted, it might not be the great boom that we once saw, but there is certainly a need. And if you're giving the consumer what they want, if they feel that you actually care about them, it's essentially, if you build it, they will come.
So I guess my question is, we know AEW is going to be a traveling circus. I have heard mixed reports as far as NXT, if they are going to be traveling or if they are going to remain based at Full Sail. If you're WWE, what do? Do you take NXT on the road? Or do you keep it in-house at Full Sail? Because think of what the production cost of putting another tour on the road is going to be versus just doing the damn thing at Full Sail. Yeah, it's only like, 600 people, but you've got all the production already built in.
Obviously, there's pros and cons to this thing. If you have that home base, and they do so well down there, and you've got that production team in place at Full Sail that takes care of you, they do an incredible job. But that is on the delays. And there is going to be the questions, as you were talking about earlier, Jargo, like how are they going to be able to pull off those, that same energy, that same vibe going live, or having, their stuff in the can just days ahead of time instead of the long-term planning that we see. I'm also worried about the audience. It's different when you bring them in for a set of tapings, maybe every 6 weeks, and they're there for a day or two, and they're hot, they're excited, they're seeing everything play out right in front of their eyes. In-ring action plays out in front of their eyes. They're fired up. The energy is incredible. Is that going to wear thin week to week? Is it a case where you run into where you've got an impact zone on your hands?
That's absolutely the risk. And there's also the risk of that Full Sail crowd just turning off people that are tuning into NXT. Because NXT is a very, very different kind of production. And if the show's going on the road, what does that do to the crowds? Because maybe you don't have such a hot crowd. Maybe you don't have Mauro Ranallo anymore, because we know what happened the last time Mauro went on the road. Like, there are a lot of factors to consider with all this. Nigel McGuinness is another perfect example. Is he still going to be doing 205 and then Wednesday jumping on a plane and going to do NXT? Does the commentary team look completely different?
Well, another situation there with Ranallo. Everything works now because it's in taping, and then you got a takeover live every so often. He's got other commitments. You know, he's working a number of other promotions. If it's MMA, if it's boxing, you know, is he going to be available they catch a flight Tuesdays or Monday nights, Tuesdays, get there in time for this thing, another one out of here. Is that going to weigh on someone like him? And these other individuals that you've got just constantly traveling, does this mix up the whole dynamic? You know, what we've seen of the commentary team that lends so much credibility and excitement to that programming.
The other question is, are we going to stick with quarterly takeovers? Or are we going to go to 12 takeovers a year? Because we know AEW has announced that they are only going to be running 4 major events as their big pay-per-views is like the 4 cornerstones like WWE used to do before the 90s went absolutely crazy and Bischoff started running all those damn pay-per-views.
Well, I think you add more to that too. You know, are we going to see the influx of talent that's introduced? Because we're going from that 1 hour into essentially, in reality, though, an hour 45 because of your advertising.
Roughly. Yeah.
Okay, so you're adding 2 or 3 more segments. You know, is that going to really weigh on the product? You know, is it still going to be that bang, 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 I want more, or are we going to start dragging things out here? Because it's hard. I know Raw is very taxing. But at times now, it's hard to get to a SmackDown because of, that extended period, even at 2 hours. They're not really doing anything that makes us want to come back week after week. Are they going to overextend themselves? If this thing isn't a smash, within 6 weeks, we've seen WWE pull back very quickly when live things are not working for them, or they come up with new taping schedules. What is the faith? What is the allowance, especially going against AEW, to remain live for an extended period of time?
Yeah, what happens if AEW comes out and smokes them out of the first show? Then what?
Hell, hey, on the flip, you're coming out here with essentially they're proven, but they're not proven on this platform and in this style. This could seriously hurt both of them as you're causing people to flip back and forth. I don't know why we got this, it's this absurd, idea. You're already seeing fans. Which one are you going to watch?
Well, it doesn't matter because the same night DVR, it's going to be like you just watched both shows.
Right. But, people are like, okay, which one are you going to watch? I know you favored WCW back in the day. I was split right down the middle, but you watched both, didn't you?
Yeah. I didn't watch WWF nearly as closely as I did WCW, but yeah, I mean, I followed along with both, of course.
Okay, so why are we building this divide? Drawing this line in the sand as professional wrestling fans, we should be excited to have, top-notch variety and embrace both of them, support both of them. It's not like you have to be one or the other.
I feel like you could replace pro wrestling with the left and right, and that same argument would still apply. As for AEW, this week, we did see some of their content come out, being the Elite, episode 165, their farewell to independent wrestling, the Young Bucks working their last independent match. Couple of interesting notes from that show. Number 1, Hangman Page finally cutting a promo. That was nice to hear. And then we had the announcement of Orange Cassidy. They have signed Orange Cassidy. Rick, over the course of the last week or so, I was talking with our friend Joe Morin over at Turnbuckle Talk, and he's a big supporter of Orange Cassidy. And so I was hoping that Joe could convince me to at least, give Orange Cassidy a real solid shot. So I was like, dude, I want you to send me the best Orange Cassidy match that there is. And he sends me this match. It's Orange Cassidy versus Kylie Ray, who is also signed with AEW, ironically enough. And I like Kylie Ray, so I'm like, cool. Gonna watch this. And it takes place in a bar of about 200 people, and the nicest thing I can say about it is like the most vicious spot that I saw in the match was a body slam. So at least they knew the audience that they were working for, and they didn't do too much. But I think I may have finally found a professional wrestler that I hate just as much or more than Yano, because I cannot freaking stand Orange Cassidy. This dude's a freaking joke. Like, I don't want to go all Jim Cornette on this fucking guy, but this dude does nothing for me.
Well, is it just like the vibe, or could you give us specifics? What the hell was the turnoff?
He's Orange Cassidy. Like, have you seen much of this guy's work?
I've seen some.
I mean, it does nothing for me. Like, I imagine this is how Jim Cornette feels when he's watching a Joey Ryan match. Like, he just infuriates me. I feel like he's making fun of the entire pro wrestling industry. And I feel like this works in a bar for 200 people, but you're going to put this on TNT?
Well, and I wonder if I was going to do two questions, two things here for you. I mean, Cornette, as you're talking about Cornette towards Joey Ryan, a lot of those same attacks, his feelings, are the same towards the Bucks and what they do to disrespect professional wrestling and how, they disregard all the tradition, the value. So are you really overly surprised that someone like that would be on the radar for AEW? Because in many ways, I mean, what AEW does, I love, a lot of their promotion. I love the direction there. But I do take great issue with the overfeeding the insider, the smart. As soon as the show's over, we completely just tear down the set and pull that damn curtain back. That irritates me.
Well, I mean, like, for me, I feel like enough is enough. Like, R-Truth works because there's only one R-Truth, right? Now, on a 2-hour show on Wednesday nights, you've got Orange Cassidy, you've got the Librarians, we've got Michael Nakazawa. It's like, how much goddamn mid-card comedy do you fucking need?
What I was going to bring up here. What is his spot? Because you've already got so many comparable acts right there. Now, is it they don't want to overexpose anyone, so they're in like a rotation, and then whatever kind of shines, what rises to the top, will get that main comedy spot there? Well, but you're right. I mean, it's a lot of this undercard here, as we're seeing, is they're building like for back in the day. It's a bunch of Disco Infernos,
right? And I love Glenn, but like there's a certain he worked because there was only one Disco Inferno. And it's the same thing with R-Truth. But the problem is, and this was my complaint with the 24/7 title to begin with, right? You can't give me Orange Cassidy and then on the same show give me Shawn Spears and Cody Rhodes. Like, if you've got Orange Cassidy out there just completely making fun of the entire industry, and then in the next segment you want me to take Cody versus Shawn seriously, it's a complete disconnect for the viewing audience. And it's the same. This is why people are like, come on, man, the 24/7 stuff, it's great. Okay, but that's happening on the same show as Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins. And you want me to take this seriously, but not this. Tell me another TV show on the face of the planet that expects that from the viewer.
Well, it would be like UFC on their undercard having Foxy Boxing.
Right.
And then running out there with, a legit mixed martial arts contest.
Yeah, it's just there's a line. There is a place for mid-card comedy. That's not what I'm saying. Like, there is a spot for R-Truth on the WWE roster, but he has to be used in the right way. And like, there might be a place for Orange Cassidy on a roster. I'm just not sure that Wednesday nights on TNT is the presentation that you want to give when you're trying to give me, the Young Bucks and LAX and Cody versus Shawn Spears and Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega and Michael Nakazawa versus Orange Cassidy. Get the fuck out of here. It just doesn't work. It's disconnected. It's fine for being the elite, but that's kind of my line for it. We also saw the Road to All Out, episode 5 and 6. We had the announcement that the Best Friends are going to take on the Dark Order at All Out. We kind of already knew that. It's going to be for a bye in the tag team tournament. We got By the Numbers with Alex Marvez regarding Cody and Shawn Spears. And Rick, I really like Alex Marvez kind of in this role. I like him a whole lot better doing this than I do actually on commentary. When he's doing the by the number stat stuff, cool, but there's no way that you can just incorporate that into commentary. It doesn't really work.
Well, I think, it's a learning stage for them. All these shows building up to All Out, and television was finding, okay, we've got these tremendous personalities. They got people they want to be in business with, that they want to be a part of this exciting adventure going forward, but where do they fit? And I really enjoyed this segment here on Road 2. I think it's the perfect fit. They found exactly what he brings to the table and what he's going to contribute. And I'd love to see segments like this on the show.
And
this is great filler for them without, having to overexpose talent themselves.
And now they're bringing in Tony Schiavone. We've seen that he has signed a deal with All Elite Wrestling. I'm assuming that's to do like the control room, because there's a lot of people that expect that Tony Schiavone is going to return to commentary, and I don't think that's the case. He's got too many commitments with the University of Georgia. He's not giving up that gig to go do pro wrestling again.
Well, and then he's still under contract with MLW.
It sounds like that's coming to an end, though.
Okay, that's coming to an end there. You got to believe this is more, I would say, more consulting role. When you're there, help out, behind the scenes with some things.
Do some pre-tape stuff. That's all you need out of Tony Schiavone. Give me the AEW Control Center.
You just took the words out of my mouth, man. I'd love to see something like that.
Absolutely, and that'd be great for Tony Schiavone. Absolutely. We did see Hangman Page cut a promo on being the Elite. On Road 2, we saw Kenny Omega finally cut a promo towards Jon Moxley. And Rick, both of them were just kind of, they cut promos. These promos are kind of a perfect metaphor for where your two lead baby faces are right now inside the company. They're just kind of drifting out there lost with no real direction. Like Hangman and Kenny are supposed to be the two biggest baby faces in the company. And right now I feel like Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus are more over than they are.
Well, I think, it was a matter of, and again, this has been disappointing. We've been talking about this for months now. We're not getting as soon, especially with Page. As soon as you put this young, great-looking stud, it should embody everything you want in a professional wrestler. You put him in that match, he completely falls off the face of the earth. And you're not doing him any services, but by pushing him back and trying to introduce these, what you believe is these lesser-known talents. Just because Hangman's been running with you for a couple years doesn't mean that general audience is going to realize who he is and going to get invested in him potentially becoming your first heavyweight champion. And with Kenny, I could see pulling back a little bit because he is more recognized. But still, you want him right there, maybe in that second or third spot, pushing this charge, getting people excited, where they've seemed to, in certain ways, just trying to focus on more introducing this undercard and hoping that everyone is going to be tuning in that's buying these tickets already knows who the Elite are.
And that's,
or a Jericho. And
that's kind of my fear, because I'm assuming that they go directly to Kenny Omega versus Chris Jericho. Coming out of that first TV, that Kenny Omega is going to be the first challenger to Chris Jericho as the AEW champion. That's what I'm expecting, whether it's accurate or not. October 9th in Boston, we are going to see Shawn Spears versus Jon Moxley. And we talk about how cold Kenny Omega is. Rick, if somebody didn't watch the G1 Climax, how cold is Moxley right now? Like, we watched the G1, so he's been relevant to us for the last couple of months, but we've only seen, that one promo out of Moxley as well?
What I do like about this, and I like the announcement of the match itself, is each of these individuals are going to be from, casuals, or the general audience is going to be familiar if they've tuned in to WWE over the last couple of years. They're going to say, hey, that's Dean Ambrose. And maybe, with Spears, I know that guy. I mean, I can't really place him, but I recognize he's a WWE guy. That is going to pull people in. And you're going to hear so many smarts, like Professor AOC. Oh, they're headlining with WWE guys. They're hoping to draw that attitude in, because then you're going to see two completely different individuals go to a different level. And it's going to be like one of those modern day moments, where it's like, oh, damn, these guys are completely different than what they was getting in WWE. Maybe this entire product is this. The hell with what they got going on over there, red and blue, and now, the gold and the black. This is the next level here. So I agree with what they got there.
October 9th, you're also going to see the first round of the AEW Tag Team Tournament kickoff with the Young Bucks versus Private Party. And Rick, this match scares me a little bit, because I remember when we first started doing this podcast, you were not a fan of the Bucks in any way, shape, or form, because you were more familiar with their American style ironic wrestling. And it wasn't until you really saw them in New Japan that you were like, holy shit, these guys can actually work. When I see Young Bucks versus Private Party, my brain immediately goes to those matches in the States that you didn't like very much.
I'm hoping a little bit different here.
I hope I'm wrong.
I hope they're going the exact opposite, and they're going to give us what we were used to in New Japan. Because with Private Party, again, going back to a different, that general viewer tuning in, immediately we're going to get a comparison.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Oh, these guys are just Street Profits.
Yep.
And if the Bucks play to that and they go that route, that feeds that. It proves that argument right. I mean, obviously, Private Party was around way before, and the Street Profits lifted their thing. But, perception is as everything. And people are going to be introduced to the Profits before that. They already are beginning to be. So, again, immediately you're going to see some of the mannerisms, some of the same act, and you're going to think, oh, man, I just watched WWE. Holy shit, these guys just went at it. This is something different. You want to present it in that light and try to hook the viewer that way.
I'm really hoping that the Young Bucks come out and they pull a bunch of that stupid-ass bullshit that you hate so much, and then Private Party beats them in the first round of the AEW Tag Team Tournament. Just get them out right away. What do you think of that idea?
Would you worry about retaining viewers?
Well, I mean, you can still do the Bucks because we're assuming by that point that we're going to have a full-blown Young Bucks versus LAX feud.
Which does go to a different. I mean, well, that is it's a hybrid, I guess, a little bit. They can go cheesy, they can go over the top lucha. So it's a variety of what we're going to get there. I think in many ways you go out there and you show a very serious Private Party. They go out there and just flat out just whoop their behind,
just beat them.
I think that could work because then you could still use the Bucks in the off things, and then you're actually what you're doing is you've got a big program in your tag division with your marquee players, and then you're building other people throughout your tournament.
My question about LAX, and I don't know if anybody knows this, if this has been announced, somebody let me know. Is Conan coming with them? I mean, Conan works with AAA. We know that AAA and AEW are aligned. Conan manages LAX. Is Conan coming with them? Because we know that there's also now an issue with the Young Bucks and the Lucha Bros and Conan, and does Conan bring in LAX to take them both out? Because that'd be kind of cool.
Well, and we still got some business to do between LAX and the Luchas.
Yeah, and who's not down to see that match?
I mean, you could actually involve all three of those teams in something completely aside from this tournament.
And then you've also their tag division is really deep, man. I really like the AEW tag team division. They said they were going to build the best tag team division in the world. I think they did it overnight.
Just go get me some Briscoes, baby.
Give me some GOD. Then we're going to see the first two title defenses on October 16th in Philadelphia. The AEW Championship will be on the line, as well as the AEW Women's Championship on the line. Rick, what do you think about them giving away two title matches 2 weeks into TV?
I think, with this product right now, you got to come swinging. You're coming out of the gate. We were kind of against, WWE announcing some of those things there because none of that wows you. You're getting established here with AEW. You're giving people things. You're building this company from the ground. You want to get your champions out there, and you want to start building these programs and get yourself settled into the regular routine of professional wrestling and weekly programming.
I'm looking forward to it, man. I like that they're announcing matches ahead of time, kind of New Japan style. We know that we're going to have two championship matches on October 16th. That's kind of cool. I enjoy that. I like it a whole lot better than just kind of announcing matches I don't know, the day of, or maybe a couple of hours before. Sometimes we don't even announce them at all.
Well, I know, but in the same breath, though, we sat here and just blasted WWE for it, but it just comes off as such a different dynamic.
Well, I think I'm blasting WWE for it, more so for the storyline aspect, because there's still an entire pay-per-view in between there. We haven't revealed the whodunit with Roman Reigns, and it would be logical that feud would still be continuing into Fox. And you announce Samoa Joe versus Roman Reigns for the 4th of October. kind of
I
take some steam out of it for me.
As long as you're presenting as we need a big match. And I think what really kills, those matches, they look great. I think people are going to enjoy them. But then when they're being, they're lower on the marquee as, in comparison to these stars from freaking 15, 20 years ago when SmackDown was getting going.
Yeah, exactly. So let's throw it over to a word from the Friday locker room. Yeah, Stevie Richards and Ben Hameen. And we'll be right back on the other side, talk a little bit of New Japan Pro Wrestling pissing me off, some GCW Bloodsport, and of course, your Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live preview. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Stevie Richards. I'm here to tell you don't necessarily need all this equipment to get in the best shape of your life. All you need is this, a resistance band. I'm so excited to offer the 12-week Resistance Band training program to you, which features an interactive PDF with full overview videos, modifications, descriptions of all the exercises, scalability, no matter what fitness level or what age you are, the PDF scales the workout to you. Also, after your instant download of the PDF, you get full direct email support right from me, as well as access to a Facebook group with an awesome interactive community. I can't wait to help you take control of your fitness journey. So just put in StevieRichardsFitness.com, go to the store, and download the 12-week Resistance Band training program.
Yes, it is I, Ben Hameen, commanding all of you to join the wrestling revolution, the underground of media, and follow our brothers at Voices of Misery on Twitter and subscribe to their podcast because they support hackerhameen.podbean.com and you will go support voicesofmisery.podbean.com because there is no more misery when you leave those FM marked channels and you join the media underground of Voices of Misery and hackerhameen.podbean.com. Rise and praise, YOLO!
This is the Bad Boy, New Japan Pro Wrestling Tama, and you're listening to that old ass podcast pretty much.
All right, Huckleberry, so we're back. Shout out to Ben Hameen, Stevie Richards, the Friday locker room, as well as, the Wednesday locker room, or that locker room show that happens on Wednesday. Also, shout out to the Voices of Misery podcast. I had Big Ray on there the other day. It was a really good interview with Hameen Media's own Big Ray Hernandez. Did you get a chance to listen to that one yet?
I did. I went and I'll tell you what, I've really been enjoying their show, just overall. I would have to say, while I did enjoy the Big Ray interview, it was probably a low point in their programming.
Oh, of course. It's Big Ray, Shout out to Big Ray. Love that guy. Huckleberry, let's talk a little bit about GCW, Game Changer Wrestling. This has become one of our personal favorite kind of independent promotions that's out there. These are the guys that put on the spring break shows, and they also put on Bloodsport. This was my favorite show over WrestleMania weekend. I still say Killer Cross and Davey Boy Smith belongs in anybody's top 3 of the weekend from WrestleMania weekend, and we're getting ready for Bloodsport 2 as presented by Josh Barnett, Saturday, September 14th. And your main event, Huckleberry, are you ready for this? Jon Moxley is going to have a no ropes match with Josh Barnett.
Just overall, these Bloodsports absolutely love this. Love the entire atmosphere, the style that they present here. Absolutely incredible, as you said. This was one of the true highlights of WrestleMania weekend. That Killer Cross, that Davey Boy Jr. match, stole the entire weekend, if you will, there. And now that we're going to get this one for our main event, just that in itself sells this thing. But look at this undercard. Individuals that are scheduled to take place here, that are going to be participating, but we haven't seen how they're going to line up yet.
There's a couple of these names that intrigue me greatly. Let's run through the list here. Number 1, Killer Cross is returning, and that excites me greatly. Allison Kay. Are we going to have a women's match, or is Allison Kay going to get in there and mess it up with one of these guys in a Bloodsport match?
You know what? In any case, I'm excited to see whatever she's got going on. She's an absolute incredible talent. Tremendous physique, amazing look, tough as nails. whatever they got planned for, sign me up.
Zachary Wentz, J.R. Kratos, Matt Makowski, Anthony Henry, Chris Dickinson, Davey Boy Smith Jr. Hell, I would even be down for a rematch. Killer Cross and Davey Boy 2. Sign me up for that. This one intrigues me greatly. Filthy Tom Lawler, the former MLW World Champion. Man, there's so many of these matchups I would love to see him in.
Well, it's, one that really jumped out to me as we're looking through this. We've already seen Davey Boy Jr. and Cross. Like you said, I absolutely would not mind seeing round 2 of that thing. But Filthy Tom and Killer Cross absolutely jumped out to me.
Triple threat. Could you imagine all 3 of those guys in there going at it?
That would be an interesting dynamic. I don't know how the hell that would work in this concept.
I don't either, but I would absolutely pay to see it. And then we also have a Pancrase legend, Ikushi Manawa. And if anything, Pancrase is absolutely what Bloodsport reminds me of.
True. I mean, this is another big name. He's going to come in and wow, people are going to be talking about him after this event. When I saw this thing announced in all these towns, immediately I sent a message to William Alessi. I said, are you going to this thing? I mean, it's right down the road. I said, dude, there would be nothing stopping me from being there if I was as close as you were.
Of course, the one that everybody wants to see is Superhuman. Rick, he has worked a GCW show before. Is there any chance that Bloodsport 2 is for all the juggalos and juggalettes? Please do not try this at home. Fuck this shit.
This is the big draw. This is the incredible one. Who would you put him in there against?
Killer Cross. Absolutely.
Oh, man. I want him in there like with some just small, crazy dude that's just going to.
What about Allison Kay?
No, that would get messy, man. Superhuman would like chub up. There might be some spillage.
Oh, that's tremendous and was totally worth talking about that show for. Let's talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling. Huckleberry, number 1, New Japan has pissed me off. Royal Quest is not going to be available on New Japan World. It is going to be available exclusively on Fight TV. And the Super J Cup is not going to be live on New Japan World. It's going to be video on demand only. This makes absolutely no freaking sense to me whatsoever. What in the hell am I paying my 999 yen for if I don't even get to watch the fucking shows?
Yeah, we talk about WWE making some head-scratching moves with their network. What does this do for New Japan? Or is this a tactic of they're really disappointed and membership has stalled out so much that they're hoping to just try to grab a wider audience and get them hooked on the network, on New Japan World?
I think this is because of production costs. Because the last time this happened was the Australia Super Showdown. We didn't get to watch those shows live. It's like anytime there's a show out of the freaking country, unless it's happening on Access TV, we don't get to watch it live.
So it's all about the production costs then. I mean, and think about that. When you're moving international and all that, you might not be as familiar. New Japan isn't, let's say, as forward, as advanced as we're seeing some of these other majors. So absolutely could just come down to something as simple as that.
I don't like it. If you're going to do a Western expansion, make sure that you can expand Western first. I mean, Naito's been ripping on this in all of his promos. Like, we need to scale this back. This is not working at the rate that you want it to. We're not ready to do this. And it plays right into Naito's character, but I think he really feels that way. Tanahashi's been very outspoken about this as well. If you're not ready to do it, don't do it half-assed, because this is just going to lose people. You're coming out of the G1, your hottest time of the year. What motivation are people going to have to renew for another month?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of your down period. This is, that essentially...
That's why you're doing these shows to begin with.
That's why, this is that post-WrestleMania that you see where everyone kind of drops off late spring, summertime. It's reversed here for New Japan. It's great that you're setting up Wrestle Kingdom and all that, but it is a down spot.
Makes no sense to me. We did get formal announcements for Royal Quest. It's going to be Kazuchika Okada taking on Minoru Suzuki for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. You're also going to see Hiroshi Tanahashi taking on Zack Sabre Jr. for the Rev Pro British Championship. Neither one of these matches are we going to be able to see live. But Rick, I think the other thing that's very intriguing here is going to be the crowd response. Because Suzuki-gun absolutely runs the UK. Are they going to present these guys as their New Japan characters? Are they going to be presented as heels? Or is the British New Japan audience going to rally behind Suzuki-gun and boo Okada and Tanahashi out of the building?
New Japan's usually pretty decent on how they handle this, aren't they? I mean, from what I've seen,
I think it really is going to be more so on that crowd because they love Zack Sabre Jr. They love Minoru Suzuki. They do Rev Pro spots all the time. Hell, they were the tag team champions forever.
And I think you're going to see a little bit where the commentary is going to feel that out. They're going to let it play out a little bit and let that crowd kind of dictate and see which direction they're going and how they're going to call this thing. And it's going to be one of those things where you're in the ring, but you've got tremendous talents. They're going to be able to work on the fly and kind of change it up a little bit here.
The other match that has been announced is going to be GOD taking on the winners of a tournament that is currently going on in Rev Pro. I think everybody is assuming that Aussie Open is going to win that tournament because it has been announced they are departing for New Japan Pro Wrestling. This is a hell of a way to kick things off.
Could you see the Aussies picking up a big win here? Or is it, okay, you put us down, but you know what? We want more. We think we can get you, so we're following you to New Japan.
I don't think you can't put those guys over GOD, can you?
I mean, it'd be a huge way to enter the promotion, wouldn't it?
It would be, that's for sure.
I don't know if I would want a target on my back like that if I upset the GOD, but...
Yeah, if you want to run with the big dogs, I mean... Roman Reigns not included. We also saw the brackets for the Super J Cup announced. We're not going to run through all the matches. We'll save that for hitting the marks this weekend. But Rick, there's one match that absolutely just stands out, jumps off the page for everybody. Number one, this tournament is stacked, but when the first match of the tournament is going to be Will Ospreay taking on the Amazing Red in a dream match that they have been talking about for years at this point. Amazing Red on his retirement tour. This match is finally going to happen. What are you expecting? Just, another 5-star match from Will Ospreay?
Well, I think, for these styles and all of this, these two are going to absolutely go out and burn it down.
It's going to be incredible.
If you're a fan of this style, this is going to be one that you're not going to want to miss.
Seeing a lot of talent announced from CMLL. There's also some Ring of Honor talent on here. They've done a really nice job of putting together a just fantastic junior heavyweight tournament going down at the end of August on the West Coast. I think there might still be tickets available for the Walter Pyramid, but that is the only show that there would be any tickets available for. Tacoma and San Francisco are stone cold sold out.
These tournaments are hot, and that's going to be a lot of conversation we got coming up.
The only other thing before we get into King of the Ring is the Jon Moxley contract. We have found out that does run through January 4th. He is going to have a matchup with Juice Robinson, but Moxley said that there's only one condition. The only way that he's giving Juice a shot at the United States Championship is if it's in a no disqualification match. So we're going to get to see hardcore Moxley in Japan, and I think the fans are going to love it. The question is that the Wrestle Kingdom match? Are we going to have to wait all the way until January to see that, or are we going to see Moxley a couple more times in Japan?
Well, you got to wonder what's his availability. He's got something, a big weekly commitment coming up here shortly that they might not want to let him away from. Or, can he miss, all depending how schedules fall. I mean, could he miss a show? Hey, we've seen, last week, though, the GOD from North America and the next day or so in New Japan working matches. So these guys make a tremendous commitment when you're, working for companies on both sides of the world here. I'm hoping we don't have to wait that long for Moxley back in New Japan, but I wouldn't be surprised.
So let's talk about King of the Ring. Rick, before we jump into King of the Ring, who was your favorite King of the Ring? Do you have a favorite King of the Ring looking back on history at this point?
Actually very fond. I wanted to open up with my first marquee major WWE event was the first King of the Ring pay-per-view.
Oh, very nice.
Was, in Dayton, Ohio at the Nutter Center. Some tremendous memories there. I'd been to like television tapings up to that point, some house shows. But that first big marquee where, every match was, was in such importance. You felt how special it was inside that arena. And, of course, the man who won that evening went back-to-back. He's the only two-time King of the Ring winner, and that is Mr. Bret Hart, the Hitman.
Was he your favorite King?
I think so. Just to have that memory and to win it twice, I really enjoyed it. I particularly like that he didn't over-abuse the gimmick where you just see, going into now I'm going to put on a crown and a cape and walk around with my scepter all the time. Another great memory from that event, it was Hulk Hogan's departure from the WWE. The fireball into the face where Yokozuna put him down. Growing up, we've talked about this many a times. I wasn't a Hulkamaniac. I was more warrior or, sometimes whoever his adversary was. I never really bought into Hulkster. I knew how great he was and all that. I just wasn't over the top about him. But I remember then when he entered that arena, as young as I was, man, my little legs shaking because that arena shook. I mean, the concrete was moving. You could feel it. It was incredible. The intensity of Hulkamania, and that was sweeping. That was every arena, everywhere. And he was saying goodbye. Still, that was his farewell. No one knew it at the time. We didn't have the sheets like that, and that was it for Hogan.
Just a couple of years later, he would turn on the entire pro wrestling world and completely reinvent himself and show the entire world what a scumbag he really is. My favorite King of the Ring.
So I guess let's flip it. Who you got?
My favorite King of the Ring, since you are listening to that hoe-ass podcast, my favorite King of the Ring was King Haku. He didn't even have to win the damn King of the Ring. All he had to do was beat Harley Race and take his damn crown.
Well, that doesn't count then.
Oh, that absolutely counts.
No. And actually, he didn't beat Harley Race to get the crown. He had it given to him by Bobby Heenan, but he did defend it against Harley Race. Harley was unable, when he came back from the abdominal issues, he was unable to reclaim his crown. But then, come on, you got Haku. Look at who he handed it over to. King Hacksaw?
Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
You got that blithering idiot running around representing the kingdom of WWF at the time. I mean, thankfully, Macho Man came along and was able to capture that from him.
Macho King was absolutely fantastic. But there was an issue with the Macho King. The Macho King was always wearing the crown and walking around with the scepter, and he had the big cape, and that would become the standard for the King of the Ring going forward. And when I look at this list of names, I'm seeing from Raw, we have Miz, Cesaro, Ricochet, Drew McIntyre, Cedric Alexander, Samoa Joe, Baron Fuckface Corbin, and Sami Zayn. From SmackDown, we have Kevin Owens, Mustafa Ali, Apollo Crews, Chad Gable, Elias, Andrade Cien Almas, Buddy Murphy, and Shelton Benjamin. Rick, I am terrified that they are going to put a crown and a cape and a scepter on Drew McIntyre. His character just seems like it would adapt to that king, the evil king character.
Which would absolutely be killer. This might be a great episode thing for the Reflections guys to go back and look at all of the King of the Rings in their reigns. Because real quick on Macho, he won the King of the Ring tournament, but that's not when he transitioned to the King. It was some years later after beating Hacksaw, but he would claim that. But he did win one of the early ones before it was a pay-per-view. And it was a couple of years there where even if you won the King of the Ring tournament, you weren't portrayed as that king on television because someone else had kind of, had owned the gimmick at that point, which was interesting. And looking through this thing, I think Ryan K. Bowman over at thegruelposition.com, he had an interesting take. Maybe we go back and revisit King Ricochet.
King Ricochet makes all the sense in the world.
And I think more so Do you think Vince had ever seen or heard of King Ricochet? So someone in creative just pitched this thing to him, and Vince, that's good shit, pal. Did you just come up with that? We're going to look like geniuses.
Well, I think there's two things that might play into this. Either, number one, he heard about the G1 and everybody was talking about this great tournament that happened in Japan, and he was like, a tournament? We can do that. And so that brought back King of the Ring. Or he went to tag Ricochet on Twitter and something and realized that his Twitter handle is @KingRicochet and was just like, oh, well, that's what we should do.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about as well. Look at all the success. You got the J Cup selling out on the West Coast. All the excitement around Bola. And then, the wrestling world has been ecstatic, over the top about the G1. Just had to get back to them.
Well, even Best of Super Juniors. People were raving about that for months, and Ospreay's performance through that, as well as Shingo's.
Well, and then also, you're getting ready to go head-to-head with an upstart that is kicking your ass in ticket sales. Where it's laughable. These guys are coming out of nowhere, filling up the arenas that they're using here within an hour. You can't even paper the town. You can't even give yours away. What are they gonna? What's the big hook when they go to programming in October? It's a tournament, a tag team tournament. Yeah. So Vince gets his tournament in first. Or I thought they would announce when we're talking about Fox that would be the finals for the King of the Ring.
They're going to do the finals at Night of Champions or Clash of Champions or whatever the hell it's called this year.
Another thing I don't really particularly like when it comes to the King of the Ring, I was an absolute fan of having the 8-man one-night single elimination.
Yeah, I was as well. There's also been some speculation online about a Queen of the Ring tournament, and that's just an awful idea. Like, there's absolutely no reason to do that. Unless they just want to, officially crown fucking Charlotte. It's basically been her gimmick since she showed up anyway. She calls herself the fucking queen. She's already the queen of the ring.
Well, how many? We got Queen of Hearts and Natalya. We got the Queen.
You talk about the Queen of Hearts.
You've got goddesses.
You talk about the Queen of Hearts. That has to be my favorite King of the Ring was Owen when he was playing the King of Hearts. That was just fantastic.
Well, there were some individuals. I know we're kind of all over the place on this one, but there were some individuals that kind of used the King concept, but it wasn't the King of cartoons over the top cheesy.
It wasn't King Booker.
Yeah. Even like Triple H, that was beginning of the King of Kings.
Yeah, and Wade Barrett, the Bad News King.
Right, so you had some things that kind of worked there. So it's all about how you do it. But yeah, slapping a cape and a crown on and a scepter, that's absolutely terrible.
There's only one guy I think that works for, and that's CN. Like that gimmick could totally work for CN and Zelina Vega.
I want more of like a modern royalty, what we see from the princes over there in England. I'd want more of a clean it up crisp. It's cool, it's fresh look. Not where you're reminding us once again, the King of cartoon stuff.
Cesaro?
How about Samoa Joe? We just changed his name to King Kahuna.
Well, Samoa Joe, I think, would be more of a King of the Ring like Stone Cold Steve Austin. Where it was like, that's cool, he got crowned King of the Ring, put it on my goddamn resume, don't you ever call me King Joe.
Right.
The same thing with Kevin Owens. I could see them doing Prince Ali.
Yeah. Yeah, with the tie into like the Saudi stuff.
Yep, absolutely.
I think that's really where you're looking here. They're looking for something major to do with him.
Plus you get the Aladdin Disney tie-in, so when Disney buys the company.
Yeah, there we go.
Next live action Aladdin, Mustafa Ali. Tonight
you bring back the meanie and you call him Big Blue Genie.
Dude, that's genius. Who would play the carpet? Kurt Hawkins?
Oh, yeah, that's who gets stepped on more in WWE than anyone else.
Kurt Hawkins?
He'd probably be right up there.
Tonight we're going to see King of the Ring first round. Sami Zayn takes on Cedric Alexander. I'd love to see Sami Zayn as the King of the Ring. Like, I could see him just issuing out royal decrees about how awful the WWE audience is. Cesaro takes on Samoa Joe. Don't like Cesaro's chances in that one. Although, I think if they really want to do something with Cesaro, this could be a good way to rehab Cesaro.
Yeah, again, I just wouldn't want to see that gimmick with him. Let him go out there. You know, hell, you know what? We're talking about maybe revisiting gimmicks, recycling. I mean, he could just be the king of wrestling himself.
Yeah, he's already the king of swing.
Well, I mean, going back to the tag team, the kings of wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, if you're going to have 7 hours of TV, how is that not happening on WWE television right now? You know, Tuesday on SmackDown, King of the Ring first round, Cien is going to take on Apollo Crews, and Kevin Owens versus Elias. That screams Shane McMahon interference. Kevin Owens gets eliminated in the first round to me.
Just to keep adding some heat to that program as you go forward. I don't think Kevin needs this thing at this point. It's one of those things. It's going to infuriate viewers and fans, but ultimately you're doing better business here, getting that heat, and you're just giving more fuel to Kevin to keep coming back harder and harder at Shane McMahon. Which, like it or not, it's a program that's going to get attention, and it's just not from in-house. The networks are on board. You know, they love when the McMahon's involved, and it's going to mean better things for Kevin in the long run.
Tonight on Monday Night Raw, AJ Styles is going to defend the United States Championship against Braun Strowman. Rick, obviously last week, Braun Strowman came out to help out his little buddy Ricochet. Styles issued a challenge. Braun Strowman accepted on Twitter because that's how we make matches these days. It's going to be for the U.S. title. What do you see going down here?
Ultimately, I don't think there's a winner in this scenario.
No. I mean,
again, right out of the gate, we are defining now Braun gets involved in these situations because he has to go help a little buddy. I mean, this is Finn Balor all over again.
Yeah, absolutely. So you either have AJ Styles beats Braun Strowman, which hurts Braun Strowman, and you know there's going to be some kind of tomfuckery afoot, so there's no way AJ is going to pin Strowman clean. Or AJ loses the title already, which totally takes the sales right out of the club, and you put the title on Braun Strowman, and then how in the hell do you get the title off of him? Or you do a schmoz finish where neither one of these guys wins, and the fans lose. Like, no matter how you slice this, somebody is going to lose here.
Well, you know, with announcing this as a match and already jumping into where we're going to go bell to bell, why aren't we building a little more suspense between these two? Or the first meeting, because right now everyone's expecting some kind of, you know, rotten finish. Everyone knows that going in. I mean, if AJ is, like you said, though, if it does happen and AJ drops that title, well, see you later, club again. But going back a couple of weeks ago, we talked about, okay, they put these guys back together. Shit, they might be able to do something cool. Well, damned us for believing that they would take advantage of an opportunity like that, because what we've seen with adding the OC and the cheesy lines that they're running out there, they have botched this thing again. So maybe they are going to hit reset and just get rid of this damn thing. I still say I don't think they should get to the ring. We need to get some kind of backstage segment. Don't end up giving me some kind of stupid ass 2-on-3 tag. Keep AJ and Braun away from each other in the ring and build to something we actually want to see.
I'm right there with you.
You want to advertise something. You've got 6 weeks to start advertising, building towards, I think, a match that would pull people to Fox. It would be AJ Styles versus Braun Strowman. I mean, look at the difference in those styles and the looks. I mean, that's going to be something unique. People are going to be like, whoa. How's this? Even if you don't know AJ Styles, how the hell is this guy going to take on this monster, what we believe a professional wrestler should be? And then you get out there and see his athleticism. That completely blows people away.
Also advertised for Monday Night Raw tonight. That's right, it's boss time. Once again, Sasha's ratchet, and immediately I am already more invested in the Sasha Banks character after 1 week than I have been in the last 3 years of her on the main roster. I only like Sasha Banks when she is a bitch, and that I am enthused to watch because I like Ratchet Sasha versus Babyface Becky. Finally, you're going to give me a program where we can boo the bad guy and cheer the good guy. Sasha's Ratchet. I want to hear the chants tonight on Monday Night Raw.
I'm on board with you 100%. I like what they went in this direction. So many people thinking she was going to get involved with Bayley. This is something, it was a little bit of a swerve for us here. But thankfully, the boss is back to being the boss. For how long were we asking, what the hell does that even mean anymore with her? Now she's taking charge. This is what we talk about when people perceive like your real personality, who you are. That should relate to television. Just crank it up, right? And we get that. How many reports we heard about how nasty she could be, and then when she is trying to be that, oh, I love professional wrestling, and she's crying over Eddie, how forced it seems.
The other thing I'm looking forward to, because it's inevitable at this point, Sasha Banks returns as a heel. Alexa Bliss has turned babyface as part of Team Hell Yeah. I'm looking forward to babyface Alexa Bliss versus Ratchet Sasha Banks. That is going to be a hell of a program.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think you got to try as hard as you can to hold off for a WrestleMania run for that one.
Yeah, because I think that is going to be absolute money. Does Sasha take the women's championship and make it Becky no belts?
Well, you got we got some time to fill out here. I think Sasha at some point actually absolutely takes that belt off for her. Now, the direction you go there with Becky, I'm not so sure, because she was certainly is cooling off here because she's just being overproduced, and they've funneled everything that was so tremendous organically. Where do you go with Becky, though?
It's interesting that you bring up about how organically Becky Lynch has gotten over. One thing that they probably should not do is have a heel that's very likable, like Sami Zayn, come out and tell the fans how manufactured Becky Lynch is. Just putting that thought into your brain, that's already the beginning of the end for Becky right there. And it's the same thing with Seth Rollins. He called him a pandering babyface. Right after he's out there cutting a pandering promo to the audience. Now you're putting that thought into our heads, and immediately
they've been doing this. They've been doing this for years.
Yeah, Seth Rollins just isn't nearly as cool because we know now he's a pandering babyface. Stupid.
They do it for years. We choose who we want. We choose who's at the top. Oh, really? Oh, yeah, you do that in real life too, all right? So now we're going to shit all over Roman Reigns because you are forcing him down our throats. We see that.
Yep. One guy that's getting ready seems like to be shoved down everybody's throat is Buddy Murphy. Talk about out of freaking nowhere. All of a sudden, Buddy Murphy's involved in the Roman Reigns whodunit. He goes out there and, okay. I saw on Twitter a bunch of marktards calling Roman Reigns versus Buddy Murphy the match of the year. Are you serious right now? We just came out of the G1 climax, and you're going to have the balls to call that a match of the year?
I got a feeling you're talking about an opportunity here for Buddy Murphy. He's getting some airtime, which is tremendous for him. It's going to raise his value. That stock's going to be the highest it's ever been. I got a feeling, though, by the end of this, it's almost going to be he's going to end up where Zack Ryder was in the little bit of the love triangle there with E. Torres and John Cena.
Oh, dear God.
He's going to be the ultimate casualty in this who's trying to kill Roman Reigns situation.
Well, tonight he is going to take on Angry Vegan Daniel Bryan. And I'm sure that it'll be a good match, but Rick, this seems a little bit curious to me because Buddy Murphy accused Daniel Bryan and Eric Rowan of being the ones who tried to murder Roman Reigns. And Daniel Bryan has come out and said, nope. Wasn't us, to the point now he is actually going to take a match with Buddy Murphy to prove his innocence tonight on SmackDown Live. So, Rick, who done it?
You know what? Beyond this, I'm just thinking about some marketing here for WWE. Obviously, we could do a who done it Roman Reigns version of Clue, or my favorite here. Remember the game Guess Who?
Oh yeah.
We could do that with WWE superstars and try to figure out who killed Roman Reigns or who's trying to kill Roman Reigns.
One of the popular opinions that I've heard that I really, really like is Luke Harper.
Is that meme I made up and sent you?
I don't know. Did you?
Where they reinvent him and change his ring name to Luke Emia.
Nice. I see what you did there. Another one I've heard is Johnny Gargano Don't think that's the case with NXT going to USA Network. I don't think Johnny Wrestling comes up to the main roster now. Now we have to figure out what in the hell we're going to do with him on the Black and Yellow brand.
Does this lend more towards the rumors of the red and blue, like reverse invasion of NXT, like the battle between some guys that had left going back?
I am hearing that is a very real possibility, and the names that are being thrown around are much bigger names than you would expect. Like Finn Balor, like Shinsuke Nakamura, like Samoa Joe, like people that are synonymous with the NXT brand that just haven't really clicked on the main roster.
You know, at that case, with some of those names, you know, AEW, I mean, that's got to be kind of where it's going. People will follow them.
Yeah, but in doing that, are the people that are going to follow them still tuned in to Raw or SmackDown if you put all that talent back on NXT?
Now, I guess, you know, we really have to see how this is going to play out. You know, who's going to be able to cross shows? Where are they heading?
Wild card!
So that's what I'm saying, man.
From what I am hearing from my source backstage at NXT, we have no idea what is going on. They are going to find out just like the rest of us.
So your source is a general observation.
Yep. Which actually seems pretty consistent with everything else WWE has been doing for the last, year and a half? Just kind of fly by the seat of your pants. Yeah, my source basically just said, we have no idea what is going on, but we're all meeting at the Performance Center to watch Raw tonight. Take from it what you will. So that's going to wrap things up for this week's show. Thanks for listening, and if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button. Then find us over at the other platform. That's right, because we were simulcast today, hackerhameen.podbean.com or hittingthemarks.com. You can find Huckleberry and I, the HTM Podcast Network, Hameen Media. There is all kinds of information for your ear holes. Then be sure that you visit voicesofmisery.podbean.com and get your dose of the nerd and the nerdette almost daily. Rick, I really enjoy that show, even if they did have Big Ray Hernandez on there.
Oh, nothing but love for Big Ray. Bringing the voice and spreading it to the masses there, you know, the good word of the HMG. But for me, the RBV, you can follow me across all social media platforms at The Real RBV. And in closing, shout out to Legends of the Squared Circle for their tremendous hospitality this past weekend. And also looking forward to about a month away, September 21st, Blue Note, Harrison, Ohio. It's located in Southern Ohio, just outside Cincinnati. Battle on the Border Pro Wrestling. It's going to be the promotion's biggest and baddest card to date.
Don't find me on social media. I don't want to talk to you anyway. Instead, visit our friends over at thegorillaposition.com as they tell the stories of pro wrestling storytellers. And visit our friend Jamie and crew over at lastwordonprowrestling.com for what is sure to be a crazy next couple of days in the world of professional wrestling. I'm sure that those bastards over at the Wednesday Locker Room will have a full rundown as we prepare for the Wednesday Night Wars. Until then, we're off like a prom dress. See ya!
Point your fingers. Label me. I don't give up. I'll be your bad guy. Stop, go! Label me what you mean. Cause I bring my character to cover your ways. I know your motive, I know of your kind. Break the couples that go stuck deep down inside. Wow, situation is a classic cliche. You'll be draping the blame on me. I smell self-righteousness.
That's the bad guy.
Go! Story unknown, well deep down on the subconscious. your bitch and I lied. She was at home with me last night. I'll be your bad guy. You know I will be so bad guy. Yes, I will. Violate. Motorboard.
Y'all, Infidel Attacker Hameen here. I just wanted to take a minute and give a shout out to our boys on the independent media scene at Voices of Misery on Twitter. Give them a follow or check them out, voicesofmisery.podbean.com. They're doing the same thing we are, trying to build their platform, overcome corporate media by putting out great content for all their listeners every week. So check them out. Again, Voices of Misery, wherever you get all your content, iTunes, I'm sure they're on Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you guys get it. Listen, because they're hooking us up all month long. All the content you hear at hackerhameen.podbean.com is because they sponsored us this month. So do us a solid. Go back over there. Let's all support each other, and we're going to overcome together this corporate media that is so bunk that none of us want to listen to it anymore. So y'all law infidels, that's not an ask, that's a command. Hacker Hameen says you will follow at Voices of Misery, or else I'll put some misery in your life. Y'all law.
Call me clutch, ring the bell, cause the pain is so vital. He can lose by a count, I'm still retaining the title. You can win by DQ, but you're soft.